Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here. Welcome back to another episode. Gosh, I cannot believe in January it's going to be 2 years, right? Yeah, no, that'll be going into the start of my, yeah, 3 years. Sorry about that. Jeez. Time just absolutely flies when you're having a great time. So thank you everybody so much that joins in the show every single week. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Go ahead and drop the comments in and let us know what cigar you're smoking tonight, as we've got an absolutely fantastic guest and somebody that I've looked very forward to having on the show, somebody I've met several times, and he's just got a heart of gold, big, cuddly teddy bear type of guy, and will have you laughing your ass off. But before we bring him on, just a huge shout out to all of the sponsors of the show that make this possible. BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, Christoph Cigars, New Air Humidors, Sagrado Cigars, McAuliffe Cigars, as well as Axe and Oak. Now, tonight I am actually going to be drinking the Axe and Oak Dream Stream. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Dream Stream Gin. There we go. Dream Stream Gin. That is a barrel aged gin, and you can get it right off of their website. It's absolutely the only gin I like. When they gave it to me originally, I was like, just save your time. I'm not a gin person. And lo and behold, oh my gosh, it is absolutely fantastic. The color of this gin is just absolutely stunning. Beautiful barrel aged gin. So now that I have all my big thank yous out of the way, let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, and the legend, Micky Pegg of All Saints Cigars. Micky, how you doing?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
I was just say, no, I was just say, tell us where you are, because you're not at home. Well, at least not
No,
in your
I'm in,
home.
no, I'm in Esteli. I'm actually in my hotel room at Los Arcos, and just wrapping up the year before the factories close next week, and making sure that we have everything ready for 2023, and getting some stuff started for 2024, and even working on stuff with for 2025. So it's been a lot of work and hanging out with some of my peers and learning from them as well. So it's been a blast. It's absolutely been a blast. So
Now, what are you smoking tonight, Mick? What are you drinking if you are?
yeah, I'm drinking Florida Cagna. The North 12.
Okay.
With a little bit of Coca-Cola in there, and yeah. So.
And what were you smoking?
Oh, I'm smoking something that we're getting close to for 2024. So it's around.
Undisclosed.
Doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be when it's done, but it's got some fun stuff in it. So we're excited about it.
Now, I'm smoking the Dedicacion, the 7x48 box press. Right. Now, one thing I want to kind of start the show and ask you why, like, you do a lot of box presses. Mm-hmm. Is that because that is your favorite mouthfeel of a cigar? Like, where did I notice that the majority of your line isn't a box press?
Yeah, it is. I like the feel. I think it accentuates the flavor. That's just my feeling. I've always enjoyed the box press, back from the late 80s, early 90s on. And it's just been something I've been, really, I just have always loved that style when you're working with Patolas.
Now, you said late 80s, early on, and for most of the people that are probably going to be watching, because this show is a very geeky cigar show, but for most of the people that are watching, they probably already know a little bit about your background, but you've been in sales for decades at this point. So give us a little elevator pitch, background pitch of kind of how you got started smoking cigars, how you got in the industry, and then left and came back.
Yeah, it was pretty accidental how I got into the industry. So basically, I got a job working at a place called Georgetown Tobacco in Washington, D.C. back in the late 80s. And time progressed on, and I was chasing other kind of careers. And then I had an opportunity to go to Davidoff and help them grow from a broker to a direct sales force. And I had the Mid-Atlantic, and it was just incredible. And, from there, I got some really national exposure because I helped them with a lot of their special projects and stuff like that. And then I was very fortunate to get picked up by Tim Osgener, who brought me in over at CAO. And so I did that. And then they sold, and a year later I was gone. A year after that, everybody else was gone. But so it was a time, I was trying to figure it out. There was a lot of things going on in the industry at that time. There was S-chip. We were in the amount of a recession. And I was able to finish up my master's at the University of Pennsylvania and get a job and train for a couple of years at Lincoln Financial and sold mutual funds. And so I was in for about 20 years-ish, and then out for about 9-10 years, and then was working on this quietly behind the scenes until, and I formally announced, November 1st, 2019, that I was going to do this full time, and got back in the business, and with my partner Frank Leo, who we were longtime friends, and that's it. And so we, unfortunately, our first container of regular production came in February of 2020. And so we were a little bit behind the curtain for a year. And then, to celebrate our 30th anniversary on November 1st, All Saints Day. And we're, about 350 accounts right now. So, and growing.
That's absolutely fantastic. And for those of you, again, that don't know kind of the play on names that All Saints does, their St. Francis is modeled after the co-owner Frank. As far as names,
no.
That's what you told me at Dojo.
No, that's what fucking Frank told you because he's a toolbox.
Okay, I'll tell him he said that.
No, he was a lot of the inspiration of it, and then ironically, we were able to get the name afterwards. So yeah, it kind of is Frank. So when I was working on the blends, he really liked that one a lot, and I wanted to go a little bit of a different direction with that release. And he was very passionate about it. And I kind of looked at him. I said, hey, listen, you put the same amount of commas into this business as I did. One thing I've learned in my past, when somebody's really passionate about doing something, you go with it. We did it. And, the dedication or dedicación, which you're smoking tonight, we got a lot of good feedback on that and got a lot of publicity from it. But the St. Francis has definitely been our big horse so far. So, and then we just had a couple new releases over the last year, and they're starting to get some synergy as well. So
I'm trying to get the camera to focus. There we go. So this is a 7x48 box press, and
yes,
it fits so nicely. I love this size. We were talking about it before the show. So,
so some of my Nicaraguan brothers are watching. So we got Kevin Strickland, who actually lives pretty much in the same town as I do. Spends a lot of time down here, and Jeff's on, and he's got his own brand. We actually, when I came in through San Juan del Sur, where a couple owners have one down there, and Jeff is a big time retailer in Indiana, and also he's got a great brand. So thank you guys for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining in. This has been an interview that you and I have tried to batten down. The first time you had tried to come on, you had gotten COVID, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And had to postpone, and then we met each other at Dojo's Cigar BBQ,
right?
And we both shared bacon on Labor Day. Yeah, both shared a lot of bacon that day, and
that oak, accent oak or whatever. That was
yes, absolutely. He's talking about. I brought up the bottle of accent oak regular bourbon, which was a big hit there as well. So I want to kind of start a little bit further back. So you got into the cigar world. How did somebody just approach you? Did you apply for a job, or how did that even happen?
I was fetching cigars for a senator, and I was going there quite a bit. And they finally, and I wanted to work there. They finally gave me a job. And back then, it was hard to get a job in cigar retail. Now people are scared, to get people. It was just, it was a very hard job to get. And finally I got it, and that was it. And I was doing like restaurant accounts and like mini wholesale accounts because you could smoke almost anywhere at that time, and then that's where I got a lot more exposure, and that's when Davidoff approached me and asked me to come on with them. And I just was getting ready to get engaged, and I wanted something, with politics and working on Capitol Hill, you tend to get a job and then you have it for 9 months and you live for 3 months. It's just the nature of, the ecosystem up there on Capitol Hill. So that's how we ended up, with that.
So were you an avid cigar smoker before getting a cigar job?
I don't know. I call it avid, but I smoked quite a bit. And then obviously once I got the job, I was able to smoke a lot more.
So what's your definition of avid? What would you could say is
back then? Well, it's different. It was a different time. It was different. I don't know. It was probably 2 or 3 a week, which was a lot for a college kid and, right out of college. And I wanted to smoke more and I couldn't afford it. So what's the best way to do that is get a job in retail. It's funny. People ask me all the time, like, what's it take to get into the cigar business? And I'm a brand owner. I'm not a brand maker. I'm a brand owner. And it's, I still think the best way to learn is retail, because you get to feel,
Absolutely.
touch everything, and you get to talk to some really interesting people. I mean, that's why so many people gravitate to it. And everybody thinks it's easy. You just travel around and you smoke cigars and you talk shit and drink bourbon. No, it's a lot more than that. You get to do that, but it's still a business at the end of the day.
I've had so many people tell me, because I've been in sales over 20 years at this point, and they're always like, oh, you've had some jobs where it just seems like you go out, wine and dine and party the whole time. And I tell them, sales is an iceberg. What you see us do is only about 20% to 10% of what we actually do. Most of sales is done in the background, as far as setting up the paperwork, the negotiation. The party happens after the work is over for the most part.
Well, that's why I like to spend so much time down here with the factory that I'm partnered with, is because there's a lot that needs to be done, and and a lot of communication, and they always have a lot of moving parts going on too. So it gives the operation to stay on top of it, and I love it.
So as you're getting into the cigar world and you're kind of and working your way through the retail, and the retail allows you to in many ways see the good and bad of the manufacturer side.
Absolutely. And it was a different time. It was the beginning of Renaissance, or a lot of people call it the boom. I don't call it the boom. It was more of a blast off because it took off. It never really came down. It's kind of leveled a little bit. So it was definitely the beginning of a great Renaissance, and that's when a lot of back then, a lot of people didn't. That there was a few brokers. A lot of people didn't have direct sales teams, and that's where that all came to play. And it added another layer to the game. And so it was a great time to come into the industry. For me, it was just I was like a kid in a candy store. I still am. I never outgrew that. So.
And that's how I guarantee you that was the big motivation for you to come back to the cigar world, is that it's work, but it's work that is unbelievably satisfying, fulfilling, and it's clearly something that you've tasted a couple of different sales verticals throughout your life, that this is the place that you want to be at.
Basically too. So and it's one of those things too where I still, I did quite a bit during the, what I would say, during, a lot of different things, but, it's one of those things that it's, I don't know what I'm looking for to say, but it's, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No. It was, we were talking about how it's just, it clearly was a big passion of yours, was the cigar world, because the second you left, you tried to figure out ways to get back in, it seems like.
Yeah, very much so.
But on your terms.
Yeah, so that was the thing too. And, my creative light went back on again. And it was a time. And listen, I still wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go, what the F did I just do? I mean, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning when I sold mutual funds too, but it was just driving me crazy. So. Am I still on? Yeah. Yeah, so I got to a point where, like, if I'm going to work these amount of hours and put this much time into it, I'm going to do it on my own terms, do what I want to do. And I was able to work with, with Frank Leo, who's been just an incredible brother and absolute just joy to work with, Brian, I think we lost you. I'm not getting any audio. I can't hear you. Can the audience hear?
Can you hear me, Mick?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay. So pick up where you left off.
From my end. I know I'm in Nicaragua, but I don't think it's coming from my end.
No. That was me, 100%. So, but anyway, continue where you left off.
That's right. I don't even know what I said in the last second. Yeah, I don't know.
So, well, okay. So you got back into the business on your terms. Why did you ever leave?
Right. What's that?
What made you leave in the first place?
I got fired.
Oh.
So CAO got sold, right? So I was gone, like I was talking about before. I was gone after a year. A year after that, everybody else was gone. So from that time on, I went back to Philadelphia area, finished up my master's at the University of Pennsylvania, and started working at Lincoln Financial. And then I used that money to start this company.
So, but when you got let go from Avo, why not?
From CAO.
Or CAO, sorry. Why not look for a different job inside the industry, I guess is what
I was bummed. I got to be honest with you. And it was a very hard time. And we had S-chip that was going on, which was a tax. And also that we had going on was a recession. So for two reasons, cigar companies were on like in a holding pattern. And really, there was no place for me to go. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of talented people running their sales organizations for the different various cigar companies.
So why go into the mutual fund world? What drew you to that?
Well, I had a friend there that helped me get the job, and so Lincoln Financial, and I went through the training, and that was it. So I needed to get my family in a place that they deserved to be in, and not worried about where my next paycheck was coming from, and keep them in the lifestyle that they deserve. Simply, one of the things because of all my travel. So that's why I did it. And again, there was no place to go in the industry. We had S-chip and we had a recession going on, and cigar companies were in a frozen pattern. So nobody was really hiring at that time. And all the sales organizations all had really good, talented people running the sales organizations for the different cigar companies.
So when you went over to Davidoff to start, you got brought in to help improve their sales outfit.
Yeah, I was a part of their sales improvement, going from a broker to a direct sales force. And then from there, and doing extremely well there, that's when I got the opportunity to go to CAO.
Okay, and what was that like going from retail to Davidoff? I mean, you went from retail to one of the biggest, most, depending on who you talk to, elegant brands out there in the industry. How did you expand that?
I think we touched on this a couple minutes ago, but yeah, it was absolutely, I loved it. I had a chance to travel in Mid-Atlantic. It was a great territory and working with a great brand. And I loved every minute I had at Davidoff. I don't have one bad thing to say there. I think that the biggest thing is, I saw a glass ceiling there, and I didn't know if I was going to have any growth. So I had an opportunity to go over to CAO, and I took it. And I started out as the national sales manager, and then became the VP of sales. So, and I think to this day, it's one of the most dynamic groups of people that I've ever put together. You had Tim, Jono, really at the top as like a conductor of an orchestra. Then you had Eileen, who was there, and just really making sure that the culture was strong. And then Tim came in, and he did a lot of wonderful things with everything from from the creativity to the the blending and the things that he did. And we exploded on the market, and you had John Hubert running up the marketing. You had guys behind. You had Adam Shepard as a CFO. You had Michael Trebbing fabricating all these art ideas that were coming to nature. And we put a really fantastic team together. The guys like Brian McGee, Miguel Shodell, Ed Trevino, Barry Bennett. A lot of great people. So and they're all doing.
I was going to say, it almost sounds like one of the better casts of SNL when SNL was still good.
Yeah,
a lot of the guys there own brands, or at least are still.
Or they're involved with something at a high level, and it's it was a magical time, And then obviously the Osner family took an offer they couldn't refuse, and sold the business, and Tim's back in now, and it's the ecosystem sometimes, So
what was, as somebody that's been in sales across automotive, I did door-to-door insurance, I've sold mutual funds, fixed mutual funds, because
I was at a wholesale level, so I sold them to financial. Were you a financial advisor or were you a wholesaler?
No, I was an independent broker that sold for like 12 different, straight to the consumer.
So you were on the retail. I was on the wholesale, so I'd sell to you and then you'd sell to the consumer. That's what I did.
So you would sell to my broker, and then my broker would let me sell it.
I would get the opportunity through the brokerage to be able to talk to you, and then I would talk to you. And then you were like me and what I had to offer, and it was the right fit with. I usually worked with business owners or private wealth, and then that's when I came into play.
So what was one of the biggest? Let me put it this way: what was similar in the sales over doing the mutual fund side, and what was a huge culture shock to you coming from the industry?
My culture shock to where? In the investment world?
When you went from cigars to the mutual funds, what was something that was a huge shocker in how business was done differently?
I don't think there's anything a huge shocker. I mean, listen, the comp schedule was the same, or the structure of it was, well, the comp level was much higher. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was a different thing. I think the biggest thing, I think you dealt with a lot more people that were, I don't know. Some of the FAs I had to deal with, they were a real pain in the ass. So, and sometimes I don't know if they had their consumer in the best interest. Where our industry, I think, does, even if somebody's not they might think they're putting their best foot forward. It might not be the right foot forward. But they're at least working in that direction.
So as you're changing and going from the cigar world to the mutual world, what was that like as far as was your talk? Did you have to completely learn a different talk track for your sales?
It's a different industry. And they paid millions. They spend millions. The industry spent millions of dollars on people to do presentations and stuff like that. So it was. It was very sterile. It was very stressful. Just like now, owning my own brand is stressful. But it's I'm smoking a cigar at the end of the day. So that's where that changed. The investment world was great. They put my family and I in a place that was with a lifestyle that was well deserved by my family because I've always traveled. But it was, I was miserable, except for about once a month when I would get my comp check. I was happy for about 24 hours, and I'm like, I gotta go back and talk to these fucking assholes again, So it was. Now, there was a lot of good people in there, a lot of good people I met in that industry. So, I mean, it was something I needed to do. There was no place for me to really go when I got out of the industry, and I was not really happy. I was disjointed. I didn't have a creative bone in my body, and I needed to go back to where, because what happened was when I took the job at CIO, I had to move me and my family to Nashville. So I just wanted to get back and be in a comfortable place while we were going through these changes in our life. And our daughters were much younger, and we wanted to make sure that we went through this process without them knowing or feeling it. And to this day, we think that we did a pretty good job of that, because they just remember all the kind of the fun things that we did when we were going through a little bit, for about 2 years, 2.5 years, it was very scary. Reinventing myself at 39, 40 years old, actually 40. And, when I was training at Lincoln Financial, those kids were all I say kids, they were 27 to 32. And here I am 40, sitting on a desk for about a year and a half, learning, getting all my licenses, getting all my designations, finishing up my master's at the University of Pennsylvania. It was a very stressful time. So, and then you get up and running, you start making some money, and some really good money. And that dulls the pain a little bit, but money doesn't solve everything.
So how much of when you left the cigar world, what was your wife, or not left, but when unfortunately you got let go because they sold
Can we
out.
stop talking about all the shitty part of my fucking life?
No, we can't. But I'm trying to bring it into like the full circle side. So
Yeah.
as you're starting this new business, as you're starting All Saints back up, what was like? First off, let's start with this. How did you meet Frank?
We actually met when I was living in D.C. He went to the Air Force Academy, and we used a mutual friend, Martin Corboy, introduced us down at a place called Dewey Beach, which is on the Delmarva coast, actually Delaware, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Delmarva. So it was Delaware, and that's where we became good friends. And then I don't know all the technical jargon, but he got deployed wherever he was. He was in Afghanistan. So I would ship him cigars, and he would horse trade those for beers with the German Special Forces. So he figured that out, because you had a 2 beer maximum, but he figured a way around that. So I would send him cigars. This is when I was at CAO, and he would horse trade for beers for the troops, for his guys and then the German guys. So and some of the German guys actually, the Special Forces actually knew CAO, because we had distribution in Germany at that time. So and then we always were in touch, and we're always talking from the moment I got out of the business, like, hey, let's start our own company. And I'm glad we didn't, because we would have had to take on a lot of debt, and we would have had to take investors, and other people have a piece of the pie. Because basically, at the end of the day, it's me and Frank's company, and with a buddy of ours, Martin Corboy, who actually introduced us.
So as you guys are getting together to kind of put a plan together to start this company, are you guys both in full bore with it, or is there nerves going?
Yeah.
Are you is it kind of get the juices going with you again and kind of rejuvenate you, or was it a stressful time?
No, I mean, I was all in. I mean, I put most of my fortune, most of my life savings, my wife and I's life savings into this company. So yeah, it was extremely stressful. So it still is. So
and you are the face of All Saints. You do a lot of these shows, these podcasts. Frank does kind of stick more into the background of life,
right?
So how did you guys work out that minutia? Was it just because you like to be at the forefront, or how did they work out to where you?
Because I had 20 years in the business, and he didn't. He had zero. And I blended before when I was at CIO, and I led sales forces before. So I think that's it, and that his talent is really in that making sure the infrastructure stays sound, and doing a lot of that from a CFO kind of standpoint. We really, if anything, I'm a CSO, Chief Sales Officer, and he's a Chief Financial Officer. So he's, and that's always been his talent. He's very well spoken. He's a fun guy to hang out with. He's not as quiet as some people might think he is, but that's where his strength is, and that was for one of the things when we were figuring out, what our lanes are going to be, which we don't share too much of. We share a little bit of it, but that was that was a critical piece. I mean, I had 20 years in the business. I had made contacts and friends throughout the company, and retailers knew me nationally. There's a lot of people still that haven't met me yet. So, yeah, that's why I kind of went down that road.
So I wanted to touch on the hard aspect of your life, because you and I talked about that personally when we met a few times.
Yep.
Just to kind of show everybody that you left unwillingly, but you left, but your heart never actually left. It was your
Correct.
spirit never left the industry. So
Correct.
the fact that people are hearing you say, I hated my other job, to me, that was,
I didn't really hate it. It just there was more bad pieces. The leadership that we had at Lincoln Financial was amazing. A lot of the people that I worked with over there were great and dynamic and very smart people. It was actually, from a sales standpoint, and I really wasn't too enamored with who my customers were. You're going to have that in any industry, but it was pretty big and dynamic in that one. So, like in our industry now, there's some people that are really tough to work with.
sure.
But the percentage is very low. We have more lazy people than we do assholes. You know what I mean? So I can deal with that because I can kind of deal with lazy. Assholes are assholes. But that's the percentage of those people are much lower than they were in my current industry now than they were in the financial world.
And I completely agree with you. A lot of the cigar world, I think, is easy to get along with most of the time. But I really wanted to, and I won't go delve into it anymore, but I wanted to touch on that because I wanted people to have a shining example of why not to necessarily be satisfied where you are just because the money is good. The money was great for you. But at the same time, your heart never left the industry. So you're a great example of
it never left the industry. It was actually broken for a little bit, so I needed some time to heal. And
sure.
And that was actually what happened with me at Lincoln Financial was a blessing because it, in a sense that it gave me the opportunity to put those pieces together so we could start our own company, and not take on debt from or too many investors or of that sort. So, I mean, we could look at somebody in the eye and like me and Frank own this company.
Yeah, and that is.
If I would have done it right after, we would have had a lot of people that would have had money of our company, So, yeah.
And that is, like I said, your story is the perfect story for somebody was doing something they love. Shit hit the fan. They got put in a spot, but your underlining story is the never give up to be happy again in your job. And you found a way to be happy in your job and to wake up every morning the gregarious, smiley, laughable Micky Pegg that we all know and love. And that is why I wanted to kind of dive into that, is to show that the depths of where you were never held you back from pushing forward to get where you wanted to be. And I think a lot of people in life give up early instead of fighting through.
Yeah. A lot of people do the right things and they go down the right path, but they just don't give it enough time. So it's like one of the things I talk about with our approach, what we're doing to the business is we're hungry, extremely hungry, but we're patient. And there was a world like, I was supposed to be out in Colorado and Wyoming, and I couldn't make it because I had some stuff going with my father-in-law. And matter of fact, there's Sean chiming in right now. And I haven't had a chance to call those guys and thank them for being patient with me when I was going through something in the family. You wouldn't have gotten that in the financial world. The cigar world. And I think I pride myself on being out there and being visible and getting out there. And I had to cancel that trip out to Colorado and Wyoming. And everybody was just so sweet and gracious about what was going on in my personal life. And they didn't give a shit about how we talked about and got set up for those events. They're just like, take care of your family. you're out there, you're traveling all the time. And that's the feedback I got from Tommy, my broker out there. It's feedback I got from those guys. And Sean just, Sean, obviously, right? So
very well. Sean
yeah,
is the
he just
reason
came
why
on.
the show exists.
It's funny. I'm telling that story and I see him pop up. Great cigars. So thanks, Sean. I appreciate you. Can't wait to go.
Sean
You got a protocol coming to you when I get back from Nicaragua, buddy. Thank you for all your patience.
Sean is a very patient guy. Sean is the reason why this show got launched in the way it did. He opened up his Rolodex to me, right, and got me my first, I think, 10 interviews based off his contacts, and then it was off to the races. So Sean will always have a special spot.
I think Sean is one of Nico's best hires. Oh shit! I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. Sean's the man. You talk about a guy that has a freaking smile on his face 24/7. That guy has never had a bad day in his life.
No, I mean, well, he owns a liquor store and cigar shop. What does he got?
Our liquor store, the family freaking owns all of Colorado.
Well, I'm being modest here, but he's got nothing. He's got nothing to be disappointed about. So
that's the normal routine. Go to Smoking Cave, see him, go over to the liquor store, then go over to like freaking Eric's house or Jordan's house because I got to pick up something to take over because I don't fly with anything. I'd rather just go to a liquor store. Unless I get something that's really kind of cool, I'll check luggage and come out. But checking luggage, I hate checking luggage.
Oh yeah, I do too. I'm not a fan of flying anymore. I feel like they shrunk the seats or I got bigger. I don't know. But they're not as comfortable as they used to be.
Believe it or not, I still fly coach. I do get upgraded a lot. I got upgraded on the way down. I don't think I'm going to get upgraded on the way back on Saturday, but I can still fit in. I'm just trying to put all the nickels in the right place. But yeah, flying is kind of deal with it, and it sucks. And at least Sunday flying is the worst simply because you got a 50% chance of it getting delayed or canceled. It's just the nature of the airlines. It's the nature of travel,
Hey, hopefully you're not flying United. They're beating people up these days from what I see on videos.
Yeah, I'm pretty much American most of the time. So an American is now opened back up flying into Nicaragua, so we don't have to fly that shitbag Avianca, which is like the worst airline ever.
Well, you got to be close to the 1,000,000-mile mark, huh?
I might be. Well, I had a lot of miles, and then when I was out of the business, I had decent mileage. But yeah, I'm back up to somewhere. I get upgraded a lot. So to me, it's worth rolling the dice on buying coach.
So I want to kind of dive into a little bit of my running theme for the year, and I think you're a great person to kind of wrap this segment, help me wrap this segment up for the year. And that's around mentors and mentees. And obviously you clearly have had great mentors in the cigar world, and you probably had great mentors in the financial world. So what is your opinion on having a mentor or being open to having a mentee?
What?
To mentor somebody, to have a mentee, to mentor somebody.
To have a mentee, or have a mentor, or to be a mentor. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate. That was a concept that I kind of learned early. I'm not a shy guy. If I need help, I'm going to ask. I try to ask the right people that I feel have the right piece. When I was at CIO, I was pretty young, and I was going through this hyper growth. I was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, national sales manager in the industry at that time, outside of Birthright. And these guys that had Birthright were awesome people, and they're great and taking multi-generational cigar families to the next level. It's been just a blast to watch. And I don't know if I've ever really mentored anybody before. Sometimes I've heard people say I looked at you as a mentor, but you got the informal and the formal. The formal is like, hey, Joe, let's use him for an example. Like, hey, Joe, listen, can you walk me through this process? You sold your company for $1.9 billion, so maybe you can help me out on this, from a conceptual standpoint on, you know, this is the situation. How do I handle it? You know, it could be fiscally, it could be interacting. I will tell you that when I was a national sales manager at CAO, I think in the beginning, when people were learning to get to understand me, I was a little tough, and I got in trouble. Not in trouble, but I was told, "Hey, listen, you know, not everybody's going to work like you do, so you can't expect everybody to be that way, but you can still expect a higher standard." So, you know, I believe I was, you know, when I was let go at CAO, that was just textbook. You know, it was big company buys little company, and expensive people go first. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, from that standpoint, I think they're critical. I still talk to my mentors. You know, and there's people that ask me questions, and I try to give them as much as I possibly can. You know, whether it's right or wrong, or you know what my feelings are on that on a particular situation. So it's I think it's critical, because if you really are putting your head to the grindstone and you're moving on and you're doing these things that where you wake up sometimes, no matter what, how good something's going, you working on it, you're like, am I doing the right thing? What the fuck am I doing here? You know, I hear from some of the guys that I kind of look at as mentors, you know, my peers, you know, that we're having tobacco conversations, or we're having leadership conversations, you know, whatever it is, you know, managing a broker sales force is a lot different than managing direct sales guys, you know, and you got some brokers that think they're the smartest guy in the room. Don't believe me, just ask them. And, you know, they're kind of cutting their ways a little bit. And it's like, guys, you know, it's simple numbers, you know, at the end of the day, you got to make 25 sales calls. You got to do this, you got to do that. Like, it's nothing that I invented. It's kind of, you know, how many work days, you know, you look at the month, you know, you're doing your 2023 planning. How many weeks? You got 52 weeks. So, right. So how many selling weeks do you have at the end of the day when you cut out certain weekend scenarios, holiday scenarios, retailers not purchasing, you know, they start to close their checkbook. If the checkbooks are, most retailers, their checkbook's closed.
Oh yeah.
And it open up again until late February or early March. So
mid Q1.
So what have you done to get in the pipeline and get in the synergy to keep that going and get out there? So, you know, so that's, and I see some of the mistakes these guys make. They're good, but they're getting better. So, yeah, I'm like, you got to look at it. When you're a broker, you got to look at it as a business. You know, it's business. It's not a fucking 9-to-5 job, you know? So that's the way the cigar world is. I mean, you should be definitely vertical in front of somebody by certain Wednesday through Saturday, and better be Tuesday and sometimes Sunday. The beautiful thing about our job is you can work 7 days a week. One of the dredges that can weigh you down and people can get fatigue is you can work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, but you know, you should always work harder than your customer. And if your customer, your immediate customer, not consumer, the retailer, these guys are putting their life into us, and they're working a freaking retail shop 7 days a week. Jeff, you know, and I were kind of talking about it down in San Juan del Sur earlier in the week. And, you know, it's like when he was getting his first business open in Indiana, 7 days a week. And I've heard it over and over again. And, you know, some of the best reps, there's like this Rami Dako, who lives where I live. He works 7 days a week because he doesn't really look at his job. He's like, I go to a lounge. The people that kind of put that work into it, it pays off. You really shouldn't be in this business if you want to treat it as a 9-to-5 and just get your benefits and get your holiday pay and stuff like that. Go sell tires. Go sell windows. Go sell. There's plenty of things out there where you can make a lot more money than probably selling cigars, and take a 9-to-5 approach to it, work banker's hours.
Absolutely. Cigar industry, from talking with a lot of people in the industry after doing the show for as long as I have at this point, I've come to find out if the passion is not there for cigars, there's no reason to be. Like, there are some sales jobs you could be kind of passionless because the product sells itself. Now, cigars, the product sells itself, but you have to have the passion to
I wish
convince
Cigar sold
somebody.
itself. I wouldn't be on this freaking
Well,
ship. I'd be on a
cigars
yacht
sell
in
themselves
Mediterranean.
in the standpoint of you get the padrones that don't even have a sales team anymore type deal.
Well,
But
they've never had one.
But in
They
the
never had one.
beginning, though, I
Skip
had no
Martin,
idea that they never had.
Skip Martin doesn't have a sale. Skip and Mike Rosales. I mean, I had some conversations with them this week. They got a sales. They don't have it. But they have a different approach. So it's like, yeah, I got you. But I know where you're going.
Yeah, it's hard to be passionless and make a really good career. And cigars do require people to be a little bit more passionate about the industry to sell that cigar, because it's
And
experience.
the people that are successful at it,
Absolutely.
It's like wines, spirits, it's food.
Mhm.
A lot of consumption. Anything that's a consumable tends to have very passionate followers. I know car people do and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, it's you gotta want it. You have to be prepared to be broke for a while.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I don't know how to say it any other way.
There's definitely a buildup in the cigar world. But it's like that with a lot of stuff where you do independently, even in the insurance world. One of the reasons why I left and went over to technology where I'm at now is because we had a kid and my wife wanted to be stay at home. And the mutual insurance world, it's about 3 to 5 years.
I wasn't an insurance. I was not an insurance.
Well,
world.
that
I was on the
mutual
investment
world.
side. Yeah, mutual funds are an investment. Yeah.
Correct.
So
but still, even if you're selling those, it still takes a long time to build that book as the independent person where I was to be
you
able
were on the
to really
insurance
have
side. I get that. That's a little bit different. I was on the investment side. So yeah. So I do get that. So and if you don't get started, the people that are successful in the insurance world are people that get in at a young age and were broke to begin with and showed a lot of hustle and did, when it's hard to sit there and be broke for a little bit, wait for that big return when you have a wife and kids in front of you. Maybe it's a little bit easier with a wife, but not when you have a kid. It's like, you got to think about a lot of things,
Yeah, so that's why I left and came back into the corporate world, because I love my job, but it was just instant money from that aspect of not having to build that book. So do you think you would have been able to be in sales for as long as you have without having a mentorship around you, without having people to bounce ideas off of and go from? And I asked that question because I know for me, I would have quit. I would have quit 2 years into sales. And now I look back and go, I've got about 12, 13 mentors. I would never have made it as far as I was without that.
Yeah, well, it depends on do you have the right mentor in the right industry. So sometimes you can have the wrong mentor in the right industry and the right industry with the wrong mentor. So a lot of these guys, like these paycheck companies and stuff like that, they play the mentor role, and that's how they suck you in. And then, like, even in the insurance world, get your 100 family and friends. I want their names, and you get the insurance. What happens is you go out and you get your family and friends insured, and then they make it in a way that you can't keep up with your quotas. You leave and go on to something else. But guess what? Nobody ever turns off those term life insurances or those whole life insurance things, especially if they're doing well. And then guess what? They're getting the return on that, not you. And that's part of the ecosystem of what they do, and it's fucking bullshit. But
no, it's
that's why I stayed away from the insurance side. That's why I'm not anti-insurance. I have a lot of good friends in the insurance world, especially the PNC world, because I live right outside of Philadelphia. But it's not, it wasn't me. So, but from a sales point, yeah, I mean, I've been pretty good. I mean, it's only been cigars and, mutual funds. So Lincoln Financial. So, Well, there's a couple little stops here and there, but yeah, I mean, I was able to find the right people and deal with my personality because I have a strong personality. I like to have fun. I like to be serious, and sometimes my kids are like, is this fun, Dad, or is this I better go fucking clean my room and do the dishes, Dad? Yeah. I mean, I've been very fortunate from playing sports. I think, and I don't think sports is the end all be all, but be involved with something, whether it's a play, that great director or that great professor or whatever, whether it's I can't think of a bunch of things right now, but I was very fortunate to have great coaches my entire life, and Coach Fred O'Connor, who I had in college, was just I only had him for 3 years, my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. But it's still a guy. We still keep. I don't know. He turned like 1,000 years old, and he looks like he's 50. He just got a hole in one actually 2 weeks ago. He's fit as a fiddle. You know what I mean? And we don't have too many more like mentor conversations. We have how's the family and stuff like that. And his son, who's just a little bit older than me, who became a coach right away out of college, actually recruited me to go play for his dad. We talk quite a bit too, and just amazing guys. It's just I've been very fortunate to have some great people in my life, and I think I grew up. I didn't grow up in a bad kind of situation. It wasn't it was a little different. So my thing is. I've been very fortunate, and maybe that's where the emotes in me come out. Finding the right people, and you can feel comfortable working with them and having conversation. Like, hey, listen, like when I went to go hang out at the hacky sack tournament, or whatever the fuck they call that damn thing in the parking lot, you and I got up in the truck, and I was freaking half a barrel in, and we were just yucking it up. I wanted to go and say hi to everybody because you never spend enough time with anybody. But we just sat up in that freaking truck laughing our ass off, So,
oh yeah, you, me, and Danny. That was a great time.
Oh yeah, Danny with that voice.
Yeah, right.
Danny Rubel.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and then we had a blast at Labor Day. Then we had a blast. I don't know. I'm like, somebody needs to give me a fucking key to Colorado. That's for sure.
Well, we definitely love to.
Yeah, because I'm reconnect with Sean and a couple of those other guys, and Mary, obviously from Smoker Friendly, and obviously not Mary, but I mean, God, she owns the company with whatever, but Jesus Christ, what's his name? He runs all the shops.
Are you talking about? Oh, I don't know the team over at Smoker Friendly.
Jesus Christ! I hope he's not watching. He's going to kick me right in the nuts. Whatever. So,
well, so as one of my things that I'm a firm believer in, and I actually have had a few mentors tell me this, and we'll move on after this, but one of my mentors always told me, show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you where you'll end up. Do you feel that's a true statement?
Yeah, but let's not get into it too intrinsically, but because that's going to show where your growth pattern is. So your friends, listen, you never sell out the boys that you never sell anybody out that never. But and when I look at some people, they're like, wow, they got a new close friend every 5 years. There's something wrong there, right? You know what I mean? For me, it was a little different because I moved around a little bit. But when somebody lives in the same town their whole life, and every 5 years they have a completely new batch of friends, I don't agree with that. But you also need to spend time with people that are going to make you a better person. So I'm just not talking about the fiscal ladder. I'm just not talking about the social ladder. I'm talking about the good. I got to come up with a name with it. I don't have a name for it, but like the good person ladder. Like that's the ladder you should be
success
climbing.
Ladder.
Success. Some people will say that, but the ladder I'm talking about is being around good, healthy people, like good husbands, good dads, good business people, the people that have those kind of ethics and stuff like that. I think that's listen, the older you get, you go, I need a new friend like I need a fucking hole in the head. You know what I mean? So it's like, but that's what some people say. Me, I love people. That's why I was a bartender and I did all these other things. Like, listen, if you're going to sit next to me, especially if that plane's delayed and we're having a beer at the bar, you and I are going to be friends before we're done. You might not like me, but I'll walk away thinking you're my friend. That's the nature of it. I love being stopped in the airport. Not people recognize me; they recognize that I'm in the cigar industry. They might not, because I'm all branded up. It's All Saints Cigars and all this other stuff. A lot of times, like, they don't know who I am, rightly so, or in a lot of cases, All Saints, and we're trying to fix that. We're still a young company. Like, you're in the cigar industry? What do you do? Are you a sales guy? No, I actually own this company, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really cool. I love having cigars in my bag to give to them. So it just sucks coming back. The only time I really don't is coming back from Nicaragua, because I got to bring back all these other shit. I need every, limitations and stuff like that. So, it's pretty funny. So even my kids, laugh about it. Like, hey, can I have some cigars? I got 2 in college. Like, can I have some cigars for the boys? Because I have 3 daughters. And I'm like, absolutely. So, it's that's the thing. It's a really special community.
And if you guys ever meet Mickey, he's got a huge bag, and it's either got hats, stickers, or cigars loaded inside.
I have no hats. I do have some stickers. We have some hats coming in. I have coasters. I'm almost out of these freaking coasters too. So, and I'm the worst at shipping shit. So Frank's working on that now. I think he's going to go down to our warehouse next week. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. I got a big tour I'm doing out in Pittsburgh with Michael King, my broker, who's another fucking Air Force guy. And then I got Tommy Klein, who's an Air Force guy, what he calls the flyover states. I call them the show up states. I'm there in Kansas City. I'm there in St. Louis. But I'm like, if there's another fucking Air Force guy on my fucking team, I'm going to shoot myself. So it's like I have 3 daughters and I have 3 Air Force guys in my fucking company too. So not that they're like daughters. It's just like I just outnumbered.
There's a lot of military people.
I got to work. I'm outnumbered. I go home. I'm outnumbered. Oh, they're great. Listen, Frank's one of my best friends. It's like a brother to me. And Michael King and Tommy Klein they're just freaking killing it out there. They're doing a great job what they're doing. And then Mike King brought his wife Cindy in, and she's amazing. The Nubian queen. She's no bullshit. She's probably going to end up running the company, and Mike will be the secretary. Just kidding, Mike. Just kidding. Calm down if you're listening. So, and then you got Big Ed Ryan, up in the Northwest, and we got Joe and Tracy, those guys down in Texas. Talking to somebody else that's going to handle a good buddy of mine. We quickly became friends over the last year about some other little states that are miscellaneous. Did I say 5 people yet? So
I think so.
Mike,
yes.
Tommy, Tracy, Ed, Mike, Tracy, Ed, Tommy. Who am I fucking forgetting? I don't know.
The liquor's kicking in. No worries.
No, I just got started. No, so listen. So what happened was I knew they were going to have. So we got to realize in Latin cultures they take the feast days very, very, very prominent. So obviously Nicaragua's Nicaragua. A lot of Catholics here. The only national holiday that has any kind of religious is today. It's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. It's actually a holy day of obligation. They national holiday is Mother's Day. They don't have a Father's Day here. They have a government holiday. They have all these. They don't have that many holidays. Where they get paid leave. But this is the big one. And then they shut down the factories, and then they have another like 13-month bonus kind of thing they do. But yeah, it was. So what happened is I got back from the factory. and where I'm staying is right by the church. I can pretty much walk anywhere here. So I said, well, let me go off early because I've never been down here for one of these festivals, right? Oh, I was here for Independence Day about 3 years ago. So during Independence Day. So I go out, the fireworks going off. The fireworks started yesterday, actually. And they said they'll go on all through Sunday. So I went down as they saw the parade, part of the parade. And then I walked over to church. And then actually I was in Mass. I went to the 5:30 Mass. You couldn't even hear the gospel because or the priest talking because the fireworks were still going off. So it was pretty damn cool. So it was like I was just kind of having fun, like prepping for the show with Rye, So, it was pretty cool. So I got back in time and I put the ice in the sink. I set up my little bar here because a lot of industry, like Fred Rui's in town, a bunch of other guys been in town. There's a rooftop porch here, which is freaking killer. And there's no light pollution and no clouds. The stars are amazing. We all sit up there thinking we're going to go to bed by midnight, and we got a Bluetooth going on, and we're the smartest people in the industry. We're going to save it, and blah blah blah. And how come we're not fucking doing this hybrid blend and over that? And we should buy this. We should get together and buy it. So it's and plus I'm just around a lot of such amazing people that are much smarter than me, and so. It's actually, you see me kind of quiet, which is funny because
that's something I have not seen of you yet when I have met you in person. You're like me. You're just you kind of command the room when you.
Well, I don't know if I command the room, but it's like when somebody has something, and they know a lot more than I do. It's like my dad always said, "You got 2 ears and one mouth," so use them appropriately.
That's very true. Hey, ask Fred about my bacon. Fred actually bought my bacon.
He just posted, and did you see my post where I'm like, it's the new Ruby, like you have to put your feet up?
I have not seen that post
last night. Huh?
I haven't seen that post yet. I saw the parade one.
So he's out. So Fred's out somewhere. So where my room is. So I'm sitting in my room right now. Because I couldn't get a good outlet, because outlets are like, well, either burn your cable up. It's just, Nicaraguan electricity. So I have a window here. So that's where I'm sitting right now, so I can ventilate my smoke. But, I mean, these are freaking third world problems that I love. We always talk about first world problems. Third world problems, like, how can I smoke in my room and ventilate, That was me this morning on my way to the factory.
Doing the new Fred Rui.
Because Fred posted at 4 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed about 3. So we got to start taking pictures of with our feet up and what we're wearing. Oh, shit. Did I not give Sean a hat? Is he busting my balls?
I didn't see a comment from Sean about a hat. Thanks. Oh, yeah. Thanks for I don't know if he's maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Sean, did he give you a hat if you're still watching? But yeah, Fred actually was the first one that, because I make my own homemade bacon, and he said you did. And Abe DeBabnett Smoking convinced me to start selling it, and Fred was the first one to actually buy a slab of bacon from me. And I will say he has rated it in his top 5 all-time bacons.
So we can work out a trade then.
We can absolutely work out.
Your bacon Labor Day. I think that's when I had it. Was Labor Day. That's the last time I remember having it. I could have had it at a different time. Now, because of drinking, you're moving around so much. But we're sitting at the table and you came rolling in. You had the bacon and you had the axe and the anvil, whatever bourbon.
Axe and oak.
Oh, it was delicious.
Thank you.
Hey, can I make a cocktail while you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look out. So Fred walks by, but tell him to come in and jump on the show.
You can. And while Mickey's coming back, Mickey actually introduced me to somebody named Mike Dove, who does all of his marketing. And because of Mickey and how much I trust Mickey's word and opinion, Mickey made that connection. So Mike's actually going to be coming on the show next week for a little bit. and he is going to be helping me with a lot of the back end stuff, the behind the scenes stuff. So you're going to start to see a huge beautification of the show. And that is all because Micky made that connection with Mike and I, and Mike and I talked. And so I'm super excited. And thank you so much, Micky, for putting Mike in contact with me and telling him that we should talk.
Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting about Mike is he's got a lot of brand. I don't know what a lot is, but he's got quite a few brand owners as clients, and he's got a ton of cigar lounges that are clients, right? And he's very, very obsessed with figuring out the personality of that vibe. So it's just not like doing the same shit with me that he's doing with another fucking brand. You know what I mean? So I won't talk about the other brands he works with because they might not want people to know. Like a lot of people don't want, because if you pay somebody to do something, you actually own it. It's like comedians, they didn't write all their own jokes. Songwriters, singers don't write all their own, whatever. But like because Mike, his business is taking off and he's growing it too. And that's what I like about it. One of the reasons I like working with Mike Dub is simply because of the fact that he's got the same linear clients, but he treats them separate. He silos them and does his own vibe. And you'll see that because you'll start looking at the other people that he's working with, and the other things that he does. You'll see that he does that, and that's, and he does a lot more for us than he does for a lot of the other people. So we're growing together, and I love getting in these young relationships. When companies tend to grow together, or partnerships and vendor, client, or whatever you want to call it, partnership, whatever the kosher synergy is, you tend to get some really kind of dynamic creativity and culture, So, you skin your knee though too. But I look at it like anything. Everything's a marriage, right? So nobody gets in. I've been married 24, maybe it'll be 25 years. Well, 1999, I don't know, do the math. I still tell people I'm 52 and I'm 53 or 50, whatever I am. So, but it's not because I'm hiding or lying. It's just because I get whatever. But nobody gets into a relationship. Nobody wants to unwind a relationship, right? So that's so that's always fun. So
and I'm really looking forward to seeing. He showed and shared with me a bunch of stuff that he's doing with other companies as well, without naming any of those here. And
just make sure you remember how to talk about those companies, because he might not make you sign an NDA, but some companies care and some of them don't. So
oh my gosh, the one thing I told Mike from the beginning, like I told you in the background of the show, whatever is said privately, I'm a vault. That's literally what my job is filled with NDAs. So yeah, that's very common for me.
Well, he doesn't have NDAs, but
you don't want to expose people. So I am looking so forward to seeing where this relationship will kick off. And thank you so much for introducing him to me.
It was kind of fun. It was kind of funny when we were going back and forth on text, and I'm like, I go, another fucking text show. I'm trying to fucking get this shit done, but I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, everybody gets like interview fatigue. Like, all right, we're going to interview another brand owner. We're going to interview another. So now we're going to interview other fucking podcasters. Now we're going to do this. I'm like, nobody's actually interviewed anybody from behind the scenes on what they do. And I'm like, oh, so you could possibly be one of the first guys to do that.
No, we're definitely going to be bringing him on. He's going to announce our partnership next week. And I'm going to let him kind of go through a little bit of what he's doing. But yes, I am looking super forward to that. He does amazing work from what I've seen, and very grateful for that introduction from you. And again,
no worries. Hey, can I ask a favor?
Sure.
Can you either vamp or talk about your sponsors while I black out for a second? Go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's let Micky do what he is going to do. And so hold on, let me remove him from the feed, and then he'll be back in. So again, everybody, we've got such a great program set up for next year. First off, we're doing McAuliffe March, and it will be a complete dedication to all the ladies that are currently inside of the cigar world, that work in the cigar world, that are brand owners. And McAuliffe is going to be setting up every single one of those interviews. And in fact, it's the first time I've ever let a company do that. It's because Amanda McAuliffe is so passionate, and so is Dan Thompson, to do that, that I threw it out there to see if that was something they were interested in, and they absolutely chewed on that and loved that idea. So, and the other thing we've got going on is bringing in Mike. So you're going to see the background of the show change a little bit, as far as some of the set's going to be completely different next year. We're revamping a few things. We're doing everything that we can do to put as much back into the show to make it as fun for everybody to enjoy that currently does. And we'll get out some new people as well. And on top of that, I'm going to be doing a lot more inside of the social media world. So definitely stay tuned. See what we have in store. We've got McAuliffe March. We're going to be bringing on Mike Dove to help with some of the production of the show, some of the design of the ads that we put out, or the promos that we put out. And in fact, this was the very first manufacturer that I ever had even come on the show that actually sent me the promo. Normally I'm making them and everybody knows what they look like, but Mickey and Mike actually made this specific promo, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm so just happy that that we are able to have the relationships and friendships that we have. So let's see here. We have Bruce. Don't worry about it. I'm starting your bacon Saturday for the cure. It will be smoked next week, and it will be going out that following Monday. It's a 7-day cure, so it'll be Saturday to or a 6-day cure. So Saturday to Friday, sits overnight in the fridge to dry. So it forms this what's called a pectin. That's a sticky surface for the smoke to adhere to. And then it will get smoked. I will then cut it, slice it, process it, and package it all up. And if anybody out there is wanting to try some of this bacon that Fred Rui, who I will take him as a bacon connoisseur, calls it to be his top 5, in his top 5 bacon that he's ever tried. And if you follow Fred, all the guy does is eat bacon. I don't think he eats actually anything else other than that. And Sean, ever the amazing person that he is, if you mention this show and you are in the Colorado area, mention the show on from today through Sunday. So you probably won't get there tonight before they close, but they do close at 10. So mention the show from now until Sunday. And Sean has agreed to give everybody 20% off discount by just mentioning the show. Can you believe that, Mick? He is giving everybody
he's getting that phone call a lot faster than I thought.
So we got a 20% off promo. Mention the show at Smoking Cave Cigar Lounge at Highlands Ranch. Go and dig through. They've got the entire lineup of All Saints cigars, and you can get a 20% discount on those cigars as well. Again, at the Smoking Cave. John, who's another close friend of mine. I do only sell it in slabs. I don't sell it by the pound because it's not feasible for me. And Mickey, you and I will work out what we're going to do.
So I got an idea for you. Have you branded this bacon yet?
I honestly,
what do you call it? What's the name of the bacon?
Rocky Mountain bacon. Rocky Mountain. The way Abe.
Why'd you call it Rocky Mountain cigar bacon?
Well, Abe actually said Rocky Mountain gourmet bacon.
Okay, but whatever it is, have Mike do a logo for you, right? And then you make them a sponsor of your show. So you take money from your right pocket, you put it in your left pocket, and you're paid. And get the logo, put it right next to McAuliffe, right next to Don Thompson. Dan Thompson. I'm sorry. I love Dan. Dan's the best.
Oh, love Dan.
And so in your backdrop, put it up there. So even where your shoulder is, that longer side on the other side of McAuliffe, you could do a nice rectangle logo right there. And then, if anybody puts in Rocky Mountain Cigar Show, you give them a little bit of a discount. Figure out your margins. You can talk to anybody. You have plenty of friends who are going to tell you how to build up your margins for that. So, so you get a little bit of a break, and there you go.
No, actually, speaking of margins, Abe's the one that sat me down, actually gave me about 45 minutes, sat me down and went through margins and actually helped me set the pricing for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have a retail price, but you better have a wholesale price in there too.
Well, here's the thing. If I do it any more than just people reaching out to me, I'm going to have to get a cold packer, and then I'm going to have to be regulated. So I'm trying to keep it to where it's just like a couple of slabs.
Can you brand it? Can you get away with branding it and not bring too much attention to yourself?
Maybe not. I have to look into that. I'm actually meeting with my finance person to kind of review show finances, since now I'm going to be releasing something very special next week. And then I'm doing the bacon as well. And
now, are you selling that through somebody?
Myself. People just reach out to me. It's $150 shipped, cut, processed, cured, and smoked.
No, I'm talking about this other project you're working on.
Yes, that's already in the works. It'll be launched next week.
So that takes care of all your legalities and all that other shit.
Yes, right, I don't have to get any of the licenses for that side because I'm not actually making.
We got a lot of bizarre states out there that will drive you fucking insane.
Absolutely, that's why I told who I'm partnering up with this that I don't want to be any type of ownership stake in it. I just want to do a collaboration. And then my name will be on it, so I don't have to deal with the legalities around it. But speaking of that, I would actually like to kind of touch on, just for a few minutes here, what was it like for you going from retail to manufacturer to now brand owner? What was some of the learning curve that you didn't know or expect when you started your own company versus what you saw when you were in the retail side?
Well, yeah. So it's owning your own company is a lot. There's so much more behind the scenes that you're involved with that has to be taken care of. And that's where, me and Frank Leo's really, because he handles a lot of that stuff for me, so I can go out and do what I do. It's a lot of work. Just everything you have, kind of like that beside the infrastructure of the technical, the administravia, as I like to call it. Every time you think you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, you don't. Oh, we got to do that. Oh, we got to do that. So, so it's but we're also associated with some really good people that help give us a heads up, like, hey, Mickey, you got to think about this when you do this, and you got to think about that when you do that. So like we talk about mentors, there's also peer mentors too. So it's it takes a lot of time.
So what was the most, and please, numbers is not what I'm looking for, but what was the most expensive part of the initial startup? Was it the regulation compliance part of it, getting the licensing?
No, inventory. That's just monotonous. The other stuff you're talking about, it's expensive, but it's monotonous. It's your inventory. That's really it.
So
and your travel expenses, probably.
So how long from when you blended your first cigar did it take for you to get the inventory to go live?
Well, there's a soft answer and a hard answer. Soft answer, we started this in 2017. The hard answer was, because we couldn't get down to the factories in 18 because the political climate down here wasn't very good, was 19. And then we didn't have our first regular production. It was a container of February of 2020. So the hard answer, or the first, like whatever, I don't even know how to say this correctly, is, I don't know, 14 months. but we literally had started this, and the commitment for it was, oh, by the way, thanks, Bruce. And why don't you? Everybody loves to spend our money and our time and our intellect. So it was 2017, but there you had a full year hiccup of what was going down here in 18, and then when you get to the fact of the COVID year, so we get up and running, the container comes in, we're psyched, and then next thing you know, March 17th, which we really were going to do like a big formal release, press release about us. We were stuck in a rut there a little bit. So, and we did some things to kind of work through it.
Now, we do have a couple of brand owners that are watching the show that I know that are young and not as established as you. What is one of the best pieces of advice that you would give somebody that says, "Hey, Mick, I would like to start a cigar company. Where do I start? What do I expect?" What would you reply to that?
Be visible. It's not a fucking part-time job. You're wasting everybody's time. You really are. You just really are. You're wasting everybody's time, and it's not sustainable. You got to be visible and get down to the factories that you're working with. Spend time down there and learn. Do it. There's a lot of fucking. We talked about it all week. These guys, I'm a master blender, and I do this, I do that. And I'm like, dude, I don't see you in the field, and I don't see you in the field. I don't see you in the sales field, and I don't see you on the fields of Nicaragua. So it's like bullshit. That would be my biggest thing. Is that and just constantly learn. And if you're not coming from retail, I hope you have 1 to 3 strong retail friends that you can communicate with the owner and the staff and get a vibe of what's going on and really find your own identity. So, it's just being visible. Just be visible. Yeah. Bruce is right.
Absolutely. So
it takes $2 million to make $1 million, Bruce. You're right.
So would you say then that if you as a brand owner don't have expectations of going full time, you always have your foot in another more comfortable area that is bringing in the money? Do you think a brand owner could ever be successful living in two worlds?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. So what kind of infrastructure they have supporting them doing that? So it's like,
phrase the question. I have a successful day job. I want to start a cigar industry. Would you tell somebody to dive into it whole hog or stick your foot into it little by little until you can dive in?
Yeah, man, that's the worst way to get into business. Get your fucking feet. Make mistakes, fall on your face.
Mm-hmm. Jump off.
Don't be a pussy. Yeah.
Right. So I want to kind of
your results are only as good as your commitments.
Yes.
And if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So,
yep.
Now, there are some cigars out there that are even owned by retailers, and they're in a very healthy environment, and they're very regional, and they don't want to be anything more than regional. They don't want to sell more than the retail store. I get that, but again, there's a couple brands I know that are doing such a very good job of juggling both. So, but that's just not the route I was going to take. If I was going to put as much money and time into this, I had to be full, because I did flirt with the idea of selling mutual funds during the day and then sell cigars in the evening. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't going to work. I had enough money put aside, but we had to make a decision. Like I made a decision, if this is going to work, it's got to be a full-time thing. So.
No, absolutely. And it also forces you to push harder, knowing that
right.
that ladder is not there.
Faster, as Kelsey said, so there's brands out there that came out with great packaging, they came out with great concept, great blends, and they're not doing anything. they're not in front of customers, and they're posting on the on Facebook on all these vacations they're on, and the customers are like, "Yo, dude, I'm still sitting on inventory from a year or 2 years ago. Like, why don't you get in here and help me sell it?" So yeah.
And
But,
so
yeah,
that's the other question I wanted to ask you is image inside of the cigar world versus reality. How much of the cigar world that you know of now that you're a brand owner is reality versus perceived image?
what are you talking about, like brand owners or something?
Yeah, so when you get some of these brand owners that are definitely smaller that are going out living the large life, do you think that looks worse or not as good to the retail store guy that, like you said, is sitting on their inventory versus them out scrapping, going to the shops, selling their cigars?
I share my family time. Sometimes I go quiet on social media. Me and Mike Dub had this conversation. It's like sometimes you need to slow down a little bit so people don't get fatigued. Like so. But like, do I show some of my family stuff that I do? I do. But like, if you have 2 to 3 months of you traveling around and doing stuff, and you're not in retail stores, those people that are carrying your product and it's not moving as fast as everybody expected it to do, they're gonna get frustrated. They're gonna get pissed.
So I was told by a shop owner one time when I asked them, and I'd like to see how true you think this statement is and gauge your thoughts on it. I asked him what's the most expensive part of his humidor, and he said, really nothing. Everything is the same value. The most expensive part of a humidor is the home humidor, the consumer's humidor. Because if they only got 25 cigar count humidor, that's more expensive real estate. Do you think that's a real statement? And how much do you guys take the home humidor cost into account when you actually are blending and putting out your cigars?
I don't understand the question, to be honest with you.
So instead of getting into a retail store, what matters most is getting into somebody's home humidor, being a staple, a rotation.
Yeah,
If
okay.
somebody has 1,000 count humidor, that space is less expensive versus somebody that has a 25 count humidor because they can only hold 25 cigars. So as you guys are making your cigars, how much are you thinking of that consumer at home buying your stuff versus just the retailer buying your stuff?
Well, I don't know if this is going to answer, but the most important person in the process is the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the most important. That's the most important piece, but we have to respect the conduit and how they get it, from the retailer. And you can't depend on the retailer to put your cigar in the best light. So
Correct.
they mean to, but they don't. They want everything to happen. A lot of them want these things to happen. Not everybody's as active as Sean and Jeff and some of the other people that we talked about. So, or have somebody in their operation that actually magnifies that, So you talk about Abe, you got Alex, you got AJ, you got Moxie, you got all these people that are involved that help do it, and a lot of these people, yeah. So, most important person is the consumer, and when me coming on podcasts, me doing these things and doing events, we're looking for ways to connect with the consumer to drive them into the retail store. So, and then with that hype. And I always talk about horses in the stable. That's what I want to be. So, and if a consumer says I need to have All Saints in my humidor, then they're going to go to the retailer, and that retailer is going to go, I have to have All Saints in my humidor, right? So,
correct.
I have a 5-cross engagement program that we're working on right now. Dub's helping me in some of the imaging out of that right now. So, but that's not to talk about right now, but it's the consumer is the most important part. So do they like your cigar? Do they like the image of your cigar? Do they like the branding of your cigar? But most importantly, do they like your cigar, and do they feel comfortable paying for the price tag that you have on that cigar, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, it's like, is this a $15 cigar? Is it a $20 cigar? Is it a $12 cigar? $10 cigar? It's what they feel. Do you like the cigar, and are you willing to pay this much for it? To get it on a consistent basis, and we hope that you want it on a consistent basis. Again, getting back to the stable conversation.
and getting and to touch on the consistent basis, it means really nothing about that first order. It's everything about the second, the reorder, the third, the fourth, the fifth.
So when people invest in you on a bulk situation, especially the first time they're trying your cigar, you want them to smoke that cigar, and hopefully they're sharing that cigar with their friends and the help and the hype. So it's that old shampoo commercial from years ago. I tell two friends and they tell two friends. You're trying to build that kind of synergy out there. Yeah, from a tactical standpoint.
I have a really good question from a close friend, John Stewart, who's also a brand owner.
How do I differentiate my brand?
Yes.
Really?
Well, how have you come on the scene and differentiated your brand from others?
So here's the differentiation. So first of all, I'm a brand owner, and I admit to being a brand owner. So I don't say this is my pre-industry, this is my factory, this is my. I talk about what I'm allowed to do in that. I have 20 years in the business, and that doesn't mean shit either. It's that when I like to talk about I had 20 years and I'm back in is I like to say that I'm committed. I'm all in. I have nothing else to do. I don't make pianos. I don't know how to play a harmonica with my butt. I don't have all these other. I think there's nothing. I don't make bacon. I don't. Things like that. This is what I do. And from a taste profile, what does that mean? How do I differentiate? What a price point? No, my differentiator and a price point is that we hit the sweet spot. That was determined that we wanted to do from the beginning. We wanted to have a relative price. So some of these people try to come in and be like a super premium. Listen, Davidoff was successful with that simply because when they launched in the United States, they had actually came from Cuba. They already had that kind of prestige out there with that price point, and they delivered it with the money they have to back it up. So it's my price point is not a differentiator because there's a lot of $10, $11 cigars out there. What we do with the blending, we're looking, we want you to have something that's a different experience that you had before, and I want you to be pleasantly surprised and go, oh wow, the cigar is something. So, and the consistency of what we're putting out there. So, to say consistency in the cigars, everybody's putting out a really good cigar right now. So, they're constructed well, they taste well. So it's how do you build an army one soldier at a time? That's what we're trying to do. How do we differentiate our cigar? So that's the best answer I could give. I don't answer well
that's
questions.
That's awesome.
And I never answered well in any product I sold, even when I sold mutual funds. So it's the commitment that we have to it. I think is as a brand owner, and we want to be a cigar maker one day. But right now, this is what we have. This is the tools that we have, and we have great partners right now, and that's not letting us, but providing us with an opportunity and a platform to deliver what we're delivering right now, and keep it at a consistent basis. So that's on us, to do that. We don't. We're not chasing LEs. I will have a limited edition that comes out next year. It's the Solamente 23. It's the worst kept secret in the world. It's just because we did one before, which was an accident, how we got to that thing, and that has a lot to do with the 2017 to 2018 layover that happened. We have a couple special projects you'll be hearing about in the next 30, 60 days with some really unique partners that we're working with, some really kind of big houses that we're honored to have that opportunity. But again, we're concerned about our horses in the stable.
Sure.
And I've used that term, and it was great to hear that come from you, because that's something I've been using for a long time. There's a lot of runway. A lot of people need to know who we are and what our cigars are. So I don't want any confusion. One of the differentiators, you'll know, it says Micky has, or All Saints has Dedicación, St. Francis, Colorado, or Habano, and then what we have coming out next year. There's not going to be. We don't want any confusion in the market, because I think also people are going to get limited edition fatigue too. It's
yes.
Okay. People want to try something new, and I hear brand owners and manufacturers get pissed at that. And I'm like, well, how do you think if they didn't have that craving, your cigar would have never gotten in their mouth to begin with? So,
Sure.
what we want is for you to try us for the first time and then want to buy us again. So that's very important to us, and enjoy being a part of what we're bringing to market.
I also think after meeting you for the first time, your passion is huge. And that is also for you, in my opinion, after meeting a lot of manufacturers now, that is a differentiating factor for you because you are sometimes for sure the most passionate person in the room around cigars and your own brand.
I don't know if
And
that's true, and thank you for that compliment, but maybe I spend time with my peers in this business. When I say peers, manufacturers or cigar makers, let's call them cigar makers and brand owners. You're not going to tell me that Lee Marsh and his crew at Stolen Thrones are passionate, so maybe I'm just very fortunate to be around a lot of passionate people. So I don't think it's a differentiator because maybe all the guys I run with, Terrence Riley, I don't run with Terrence Riley, but there's another guy I admire. I think everybody's got, at least all the people I see have passion. So I don't see that as a differentiator. And thank you for that compliment. It's just, there's people I have a lack of, I don't know, they have a lack of passion, or maybe it just they're bipolar passion. So one minute they're passionate, next minute they're not. I don't know. So yeah, but thank you for that. But I feel like I'm in a sea of very passionate people. So
no, and everybody that you named,
I get it. So
everybody that you named, I would absolutely agree. So this is going to be a really short answer for you because I don't want to get into the legalities, and then I want to give you some time to talk about what you're doing in Nicaragua with All Saints and sharing a little bit about what to expect with you next year based on what you're doing down there now. But just on a really simplified, dumbed down yes or no, are you concerned at all that Nicaragua is going to go into an embargo with the U.S. and there may be an issue?
Let's put it this way. God, I get asked that question all the time. I try to give the same answer because it hasn't really changed. We talk about it. We're concerned about it. Everybody's concerned about it, talk about it. But it's been an ongoing issue for a long time. It just got a lot of legs. And we're hoping, we're paying attention to it. Have I pulled back on my ordering? If anybody's pulling back on their ordering, it's because people are going back to work. They're instead of pulling back on their ordering, they're managing their inventory. I don't think anybody has curtailed their production because of that scenario. I can't speak for anybody else. I know we haven't. But we're a little bit of an anomaly. We're a young, growing brand. We have really good percentage numbers right now because we're a small company. We're not a big company, right? Those percentages of growth got stymied a little bit. So yes, and I think a lot of that had to do with the Ukraine situation. So they go, the Ukraine situation. Yeah, of course. The Russians are here. It's a communist state. They finance a lot of Nicaragua. But you don't see anybody in uniform. You don't see any Russians in uniform. They're here. The military's here. You just don't see them, right? So, not in a formal capacity of like a base and stuff like that. And I think it was because of what we did, the way that we shelled our shell, as in shelling, not shelling in fighting. How we helped out Ukraine, with the military situation. With everything from resources of sending armories and stuff like that through Germany or whatever we got, how we handed it off to, I'm sure there's a lot of undercover intel that's going on and teaching these villagers how to fight. That pissed off fucking Putin. So so I think what Russia was saying is, all right, you're going to keep doing this. We're going to put troops on the ground. And we'll be on the doorstep of the United States. And then Biden reacted with, you do that, I'm going to, this long-standing thing. They're not coming after the cigar industry, one iota, with that embargo. They're actually going, we're the financial hit. We're part of the equation, but they're going after the mineral rights and the agro and all that other stuff. That's where the big bite is, you know. So we're a big piece of it, but there's miles between of what we do to the GDP as opposed to what those guys do. I mean, it's huge. So for Nicaragua.
Well, I
So
appreciate.
that's my answer, and that's kind of the feel that we get from everybody else. We haven't had one of those conversations this week. Doesn't mean that it just didn't come up because we had other conversations when you're running into your other people. Are we keeping an eye on it? 1,000%. But I can't say that anybody's lessening up their production. I think the bigger worry that's coming from the cigar world, brand owner, manufacturer, cigar maker, whatever you want to call them, is what's going to happen with the economy. You know, so there has to be a correction. You know, the invisible hand has to show up. You know, so basic economics, that's got to show up, and what's that going to do? So, what's that going to do with the purchase power? So we'll see.
And I appreciate that answer very much so. That's an answer that I haven't gotten.
We're not blowing it off. It's just we're not talking about it. I don't think anybody's curtailed their production. If they're curtailing their production, it's for other economic reasons, not that.
You're not necessarily losing sleep over it yet because there's just no reason to at this point.
I wouldn't say we're not losing sleep over it, but it does creep up. You know, maybe we think about it one night, or like I can't speak for anybody else. We are monitoring it, but for somebody like us, a couple $1 million is a lot more important than the Scandinavian tobacco. They spend a couple $1 million on lighters. So promotional lighters.
That's very true. So take the next 5-6 minutes without going too much in depth or what you don't want to give away. But I have lightning round questions to close the show. So take the next few minutes here. Let everybody know what you're doing down there to the extent that you can or want to. Yeah. Let everybody know what to expect from All Saints in 2023, what you're willing to divulge, and so the show's yours for a little bit.
All right. But if you're thinking something, I go through this. So next year, you're going to see a new line. Probably 3 Botolas. And we're probably going to do the 12 count boxes again. So that's 4 over 3 in the cabinet. So we do that. It's for events. It's for us to capture more facings, less shelf space. Because that's always the biggest answer from a retailer. I don't have the shelf space. I got to wind this guy down before I wind you up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you that. The blend, I won't tell you. The strength of the blend, I won't tell you. What we're doing is working with some tobaccos that I worked with years ago that I'm excited to work with again. The price point should be right within that. The Solamente 23 we're coming out will be 500 boxes, and they should be able to ship by the PCA in July or August. And then a couple boring things on packaging. I will tell you that our container of the Vespers are finally getting out, so they'll be coming in. They might not even make it into the market until the beginning of next year. That's a 4.5 by 44. You'll be able to see some more of this stuff. As you know, Mike Dove, the guy we're talking about, is doing our website, so that's under construction. So you'll see a little bit of that. But those were cigars that we were hoping to have out at the end of October for November 1st ship date. Because of that, it's a cold weather smoke. It's got a lot of different things. So 2024, I'm smoking something we're getting close to 2024 because we want to get aged, get it rolled, get it in the Escaparate, and we just finally, we're hopefully, that's for the first quarter. We have something that's coming to market. It's more of a co-brand, and we have another co-project that we're working on that we hope to have done this year. I won't tell you the time frame because that'll be easy to figure out. Because it's not done. Like we haven't done it. Our eyes are far from done. I will tell you that We do have the name for our next cigar. Well, we do not. I'll be honest with you. We do not have the packaging. We haven't even mocked up. All our stuff is in sketches. Me and Frank sketches right now. So I have two art. I have an art guy, and then I have Mike who does kind of everything else or cleans up the artwork that we get done. Let's see what else do we got going. We're working on 2024. We're working on 2025. 2024. We definitely want to have something for our 5th year anniversary. It's very important for us because we've tried to have some kind of anniversary boost. That ball's been dropped every year because of me, 1,000%. We really have an interesting time. November 1st, All Saints Day. What a great time to kind of do something. I know Crown has Dia de Muertos and stuff like that. And then you're coming right off of Pete with his Halloween stuff. But with us, and we've literally dropped the ball from anything of having some kind of really big consumer event to actually having some kind of release or getting something in the market there. So I said, listen, this is bullshit. We're not going to keep fucking doing this 60 days out. Like, how are we going to put something through? It doesn't work. It's not healthy. Let's get it right for the 5th anniversary. Let's talking about now. So it's not, so it is something that's relative. It's something that is digestible and can get done. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Will we ever see a shaped Churchill named the Pope, or will we ever see a cigar called the Mickey? You know what I mean by the shaped Churchill, right?
No, that's my miters. My miters are based off the bishop's hat.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, are we going to see a cigar called the Pope or the Mickey coming from All Saints?
I don't think we can. First of all, I think there's like a Pope of Greenwich. There's a Pope of something out there. We've talked about using Pope in some kind of context, and we just thought that's just pushing the line. And then Mickey, there's a play on that we thought we were going to have. We still might do for. I can't tell you the time, then you'll figure it out. I'll tell you offline.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
And I didn't want this project that we're talking about. That project we're talking about. That's why I keep trying to put it on the back burner. And then we got accelerated because there was some tobacco that we had to do for this other project, and we only needed a half a bale for one project. Where we do the other half a bale of a certain tobacco, and then so.
Well, I appreciate. I won't press anymore because I feel like we've hit the wall with what you're willing to divulge, and that's totally acceptable.
Well, here's the thing. I think I'm pretty transparent, but in some
of course,
it's pretty funny.
So I have a few lightning round questions here to answer the show. Just really quick.
I talk these lightning round questions or like naming music. I suck at this shit, by the way.
Oh no, nothing like that.
No, I don't do well at them. So,
what is your favorite rapper? Either musician or you can give me just cigar rapper. It's up to you, or both. But what is your favorite rapper?
My favorite. I'll give you both. Can I just give you fucking region and not seed?
Sure. Well, I'm just looking for like.
Well, I'm in love with San Andres, and obviously I put that on the dedication. But I do a lot with different varietals of Ecuador, different seeds or varietals, whatever you want to call them. And then whether it's Seiko, Viso, Lajero. So who's my favorite rapper? So that's cigar rapper. I think I kind of answered that. Who's my favorite rapper? Yay? No, I'm just kidding. I gotta look at my flow list. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a guy that likes music but doesn't know jack shit about it. So
I'm the same way.
Eminem. Probably.
Perfect.
I mean, I really get fucking pumped with this stuff. So,
What's your favorite cut of a cigar?
factory cut.
Well, no, are you would that be thumb, straight,
I call, yeah,
heat?
it would be like I guess it would be close to guillotine. All my
Okay.
stuff, except for torpedoes, are triple cap. So I actually use, I call it factory cutter, because you use a cutter in the factory, they call you a pussy. When I do that. No, you can't do that with anything unless it's got a triple cap on it. But I will tell you, when I smoke my torpedoes, my miters, I do a V cut. I just like the way it feels in my mouth.
What is your favorite All Saints cigar, and what is your favorite pairing to go with that?
I don't have a favorite cigar.
Well, what's your favorite pairing to go with your cigar?
Bourbon.
Let me ask it that way. Bourbon. Okay.
Now I can answer Frank on that. It's Scotch.
I'm
Scotch.
both.
Frank tends to like the saltier tobaccos that we work with, and I tend to like the sweeter tobaccos that we work with.
Okay.
They all have kind of a crossover. Yeah.
Is there any tobacco that you, without giving anything away, is there any tobacco that you would like to work with but have not worked with yet?
That's funny. It's pretty elementary, pretty neutral. I say Pueblo Nuevo, which is kind of a neutral tobacco. Really haven't done anything with that. Haven't even really kind of worked with it. And tobacco, why not? Oh, there's a shitload of tobaccos I haven't worked with. So come on, let's put that in perspective. Tepe, I've been fascinated with. Seeing how there's a way, if I can get my hands on it, how do I make it work?
Okay.
Skip Martin and I talked about that shit until 3 o'clock in the morning last night. So,
what is your favorite size of cigar?
Free. My favorite, probably 5x54. Even though that's the only way you're going to find that is in my torpedo. Mm-hmm. What size do I gravitate mostly to? You know what? My favorite right now is my 4.5x44. I just like them. They're little power smokes. When you're down here, it's just a great little smoke to have because you can move on to the next flavor. They're flavor bombs. We have a thing that we're going to try to do next year. So since the Vespers aren't going to do there, how are you going to create hype when people aren't going to buy and stuff? There's this little exercise I kind of accidentally stepped into I did it first with the dedication that I did with the St. Francis, and I just happened to have some of our original rolled Vespers. So we're calling Vesper in all 4 lines that Vitola. We want to get to the point where we use the same names for the same Vitola in every line that we have.
Continuity.
So like 6x60, we call it huge because we call everybody huge. The miter, we call the torpedoes miters because like the Pope's hat, the Bishop's hat. And Vesper, eating reflection, is smoke like a Robusto dedication and then smoke the Vesper. They're like, dude, this Vesper is awesome. It's a flavor bomb. It is. It's a fucking flavor bomb. And I think that shape is going to gravitate and it's not going to go anywhere. Just like 6x60s, on the other side of the spectrum with the Gordo, I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think that's got more legs than ever before. So I'm going to go with Vesper. I think the 4.5x44 fits my time too. People ask me like, well, how many cigars do you smoke a day? And I go, it depends on how much I got to fucking talk, so which I love doing. So
now, personal question of myself, I am a massive Lancero guy.
Yeah.
Nothing
soon.
No. Nothing anytime soon on the roadmap.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that's totally know that I'm not anti-Lancero. I smoke a lot of Lanceros. I love Lanceros for a breakfast smoke, especially if I can ease into my day. I'm under my own system. Oh, it's great in the morning, and it just picks up all those different flavors. Especially if it draws correctly and it's got a great flavor profile. I really like, I like anything at any time of day. I always say I'm a moody smoker, and they're like, "That's not somebody I want to smoke with." I'm like, depends on my mood, where I want in strength, where I want in body. Like if I've been up since 4:00 in the morning, I haven't had a cigar. Maybe 6:30, I'm going to have a fucking full bodied cigar, especially if I maybe had a breakfast sandwich or something like that, or I'll have a milder. It doesn't matter. Like I don't even know what my rhythm is.
You go off your mood.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I am. Sometimes I'll do a Connecticut at night. Sometimes I'll do something full body in the morning. If I've got nothing but Zoom meetings from 8 to noon, I'm smoking something a little angry that day.
It depends on how much chatter you're doing too. Do you want to put that cigar in your mouth?
Correct. And then I wanted to kind of ask you one last lightning round. Are we ever going to see
any time? I'm not in a hurry. I'm waiting for Fred Rui to walk through the door so we get him on camera real quick.
Hey, that'd be awesome. Fred was just on a couple weeks ago. Do you ever see an All Saints portfolio something along the lines of over a 60 ring gauge?
Over a 60? No.
Yeah, no. So you're not going to fall.
I hate saying no, because the moment I say no, some concept will pop in my mind. I'll get drunk and make a bet with Bazooka, and then I'll be begging him to do a fucking co-op.
990.
Yeah. Like, who's going to bail who out of jail up in fucking Detroit? No, I can't see it. I think that we're maxed out with the Gordo. You have to have Vitola management. You have to, and I would almost think that our next blend, because we're having a lot of arguments about it, because they're aged and they're ready to, whether it's be box press or round. So I think it's gonna be round. So I know that's kind of a weird answer to what you said. Like I can't see anything. I can't see anything over 60. There's no. That's not even in my idea book. My sketch, like I have sketch books. I have idea books. I have blend books. Where's my recipe book? I got a book for everything, because my mind goes in 1,000 different directions every time. Yeah, like this thing. When I first wrote in it, I just put a sticker on it, but the first time I wrote in it was 2004. So it's like, you can see, like,
it's got a lot of sketching in it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not in any one of those, and it's definitely
that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, and it's definitely not in any of fucking Frank's shit too. I can guarantee you that.
I stop at 60 personally. I think anything over 60 feels awkward.
Frank went to Lancero yesterday, and I have a reason.
I agree with
I don't want to do a Lancero, because you just make what you can make, and whatever. I just don't want to talk about why. I'll tell you. I just don't feel confident in. Or pay the price to have the right torsador to do that, or the right rolling pair to do that.
I think Lancero would be fitting for like an LE run, to where it was a small box type run, just to see if the market wanted it.
People get in these they get into these Lanceros and they do them in LE, and they got the wrong combination, they got the wrong blend. They're going too deep on their bandas, and the binder and binder, and they had the wrong rollers in the factory rolling it, and they're doing it because it's chic, and it's like, no. Listen, Nicaragua right now is worried about. They think there's going to be another exodus next year
of people coming to the U.S. You mean?
Well, not coming to the U.S., just leaving Nicaragua.
Yeah,
I'm sure that that's the number one destination. It's not. Listen, there's more destinations when people leave Latin countries than just the United States, but it's always the number one. That's for sure. So they're worried about that right now. Supposedly, there's buses going north up to Honduras, so they mule across country, each country. Like, it's like Cuba. These Cubans leave Cuba, they fly into Managua, Nicaragua, and then they get on the street and they get muled in buses and taxis and whatever to Honduras, and they just work their way up and get down to Miami. So they spend all that time and money to come back to 90 miles north of where they fucking left. It's nuts.
So Steve is asking for a Lancia.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you can't say no to Steve.
I love
you
Steve.
Can't say no to Steve. Mick, I'm moving to. Kevin says he's moving to Nika. Where we staying?
Hell, you can get a good place down here for like $700 a month at the most. You can get $500 a month if you want it.
That's probably high living down there.
Oh, the commish would not last down here more than a second. That Boston faggot. I mean, he's fucking. He comes up meat and potatoes. Somebody would look at him out of the corner of his eye and he'd beat his ass. I love the commish.
So let me ask you, what's your favorite Nicaraguan food?
Cuban. I'm not that. Let's see. I had a Cuban. I went to a Cuban restaurant today for lunch. I had a Cuban sandwich. I went to a place called El Bronx last night. It was freaking awesome. I went there with Nasser, a buddy of mine from one of the big companies. The meat down here is fucking outrageous. Delicious. So I wish I could show you a picture. There's this place called Asadero, and they make these little sausage ball kind of bombs. They grill everything. Everybody grills a lot down here. So it's barbecue, but it's not like Southern barbecue with the sauce. It's barbecue just means they cook on a grill, right? They had this tomahawk steak, and it's about 30 plus ounces. It's absolutely delicious. They make a pork chop too. It's not as thick as like those big kind of pork chops, but this tomahawk steak you get for about $10 to $14 that you would pay $80 to $110 in the United States for. Absolutely magnificent.
Wow. I've heard great things about it.
If you're a meat and potatoes guy, you could definitely last on here. And there's just a myriad of flavor explosion. The one thing that drives me crazy with the food down here, and certain things, they do season it way too much salt. And like I have a gag reflex if too much salt happens. So it's like, it's good, but like it's almost too salty. They put salt on top of salt down here. Yeah.
Salt with a side of salt.
Yeah. No, salt on top of salt with a side of salt. No, I love the food down here. And the people are great. They're almost too good because they never want to let you down. They never want you to be upset with them. They're very passionate. It's actually a great place to learn Spanish too, because it's one of the. They're not slow. I'm not calling them slow or anything else. Their vernacular, the way their Spanish is spoken down here, it's a little bit slower than some of the other Spanish-speaking or Latin cultures and countries. So it's actually a great place to learn, Spanish. I've just been in love with this place it's just awesome to come down here and spend all this time. I mean, I'm like, you can kind of see my room a little bit with, it's typical Latin country. They just slap freaking air conditioner up on the wall, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. You open the windows.
So last lightning round question of the night. What is your biggest pet peeve when you walk into a lounge?
What's my big? I don't really have.
Dirty floors, unemptied ashtrays, unorganized humidors. What is something where you're like, this is not an All Saints lounge?
Wow, listen. My biggest pet peeve can't be an unorganized humidor. That's got to be a given with anybody. So I don't think there's one brand owner, salesperson, broker that would say that an unorganized humidor is going to drive them to the crazy. So that's not a different. We're talking about differentiators. That's not a big pet peeve. That pisses off everybody. So let's go outside that more aesthetically. I would say lighting. Johnny Anthony. Now there's a lunatic. That guy loves Facebook. He's crazy and shit. That's my low country brother right there. No, I think my biggest is actually lighting.
Lighting. I've never heard that answer before.
Using the wrong lighting on the cigars, it could burn them. It doesn't show them well.
Oh, I see.
There's a myriad of things that fall into there, like a dead light bulb.
Yeah,
and I think I get that from David Berger from my old Georgetown tobacco days.
Huh.
Absolutely,
I've never heard that answer before. That's a very interesting answer.
A disorganized humidor, I don't think that's fair for that question, because if that doesn't frustrate any salesperson at what capacity walks into the store, you know what I mean? It's like if somebody says a disorganized humidor, like, yeah, that pisses off everybody. Somebody might, like you said, I said lighting, somebody else might say whatever, dust, dirty ashtrays. My whole thing is you got time to lean, you got time to clean. So, but lighting, because I think that sets the mood and the experience. I think that sets the experience for the whole, listen, people make movies and they spend millions of dollars or a tremendous amount of time on what's the appropriate lighting. Like the lighting of me right now in this room, but this is all I could deal with. It sucks, right? So, but it is what it is. So
we got to get you a ring light. I'm going to send you a ring
light.
I
have one. I don't need travel with that shit. Everybody's like, Dove's like, hey, listen, when we do these hype videos, you got to carry around this stand. And I'm like, dude, I'm maxed out when I got on the road because my broker probably fucked up and then called the retailer in time to get the order in for the event. And I got to fucking mule shit all the ways out there. They're like, I got enough crap to carry around.
So I do have just one last of the.
I'm not as angry as I usually am. What's that?
I have one last of the lightning round. When you go into a lounge for the first time, do you announce who you are? If you've never been there, but they carry your cigars, to like the consumer
to the staff?
Base? No, to the consumer base, or do you incognito like walk up to somebody smoking an All Saints going, what do you think of that?
No, so walking into a lounge, I'm going to go introduce myself to the staff. Hey, I'm Micky Pegg, blah, blah, blah. And hope the fucking God I haven't been in there before and had a deep conversation with somebody that I forgot that I talked to. Of course, I'm going to announce myself to the staff, but not in a big boom bass. Hey, I'm Micky Pegg. Thanks for having me. But usually if I'm with a broker too, they're going to do that soft introduction. If I sit down in the lounge, I'm not going to say who I am. I'm like, oh, I will say, hey, how you doing? I'm Micky Pegg. Nice to meet you. They'll usually go, well, who are you? And it's not a confrontational, who are you? I'm with All Saints. What are you, the sales rep? No, I'm the owner. Like, I don't, or I'll say, I'm one of the owners or I'm the co-owner of All Saints. But not like, but I would do that in any setting. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're going to sit down and get into a circle of people and enjoy in like those public environments. Yeah, I always introduce. That's the way I was taught. Good eye contact, good handshake. Stand up when somebody comes over to the table and introduce themselves. Even though they tell you to sit down, you get up and shake their hand.
Well, Micky, I truly, truly appreciate you spending the time out of your night to come on. I'm going to give you the last couple minutes here before I close the show. Let everybody know how to find you. If you have store locator on your website, where to find you, and why to choose.
Don't find me. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Don't find me. No.
And why to choose All Saint over their next or their go-to cigar?
Yeah, so so from a standpoint, our website, and it's under construction, so we're getting there with the love and care that we're getting from Mike Dove. That's All Saints Cigars, That's also at All Saints Cigars on Instagram and Facebook. Also, we started the consumer engagement, what we're calling the All Saints Cigars Crew, Krewe, a little play on the kind of Mardi Gras crew. We're trying to build that up, so get on there, and we want to make that more engaging. We have somebody that's going to come on and get on there and just talk about cigars. And then we also want to do something where we get more stuff out to the consumers that play on there and talk about what they're smoking. It doesn't have to be an All Saints. Whatever you're smoking, get out there. Listen, I started as a consumer. I'm still a consumer, So that's about it. And look forward and any ideas and things. And hey, listen, we're a grown company. If there's something that we dropped the ball on, please, thank you for your patience and let us know. Yeah, that's it.
Well, Micky, thank you so much. And one of the aspects of the show that I was so grateful to touch on, even though it was a little rough to touch on it, was the fact of your perseverance. I really wanted that to shine through.
Thank you.
That you were not happy and you changed your plight to make yourself happy again. And that to me is something I find very often inside of my world. So I just really wanted to spotlight that. To give everybody an understanding.
You got to be it's like golf. Listen, you fucked up that hole. The next hole's a new hole. Get on the tee box. Take a new. It's like, so what? Now what? I've talked about over for the years. I heard it. God, I can't remember the guy's name now, but you had a great day. So what? Now what? What are you going to do to make the next day great? Hey, you had a shitty day. So what? Now what? What are you going to do to make the next day great? If you can't wake up with a positive attitude, and you know what? And I try to do it when your balls are fucking in a vice and your back's up against a wall. If you can get yourself to a positive state of mind of how you're going to get through that, you're going to get through it faster and more efficiently. And it's hard to do it. Like, I've been there. I just know every next day is going to be better. It's going to be a great day. It doesn't always work out that way, but if you try to wake up that day and do it. So that's it, attitude of gratitude.
Absolutely. And Micky seems to me is the type of guy that will listen to bitching for so long without saying, okay, now give me a fucking solution. So
yeah, listen, I don't mind you bitching about something, but you better at least throw something out there to stimulate the conversation to fix it.
Absolutely.
Now, I might say that's a fucking dumb idea, but thank you for the idea. And then through that joke and through that process, we'll get to something done. Just don't sit there and bitch about it. What are you going to do to fix it? You know what? I don't know what I'm going to do to fix it right now, but I want to identify this is going to happen. I need to go meditate and think, because sometimes when you quit thinking about a situation, it unclogs your mind and gives you an opportunity to get to the right thing.
Absolutely.
It's like Skip says, how Skip always says, how are we going to unfuck this? How are you going to unfuck yourself? So Skip talks about that all the time. So it's like, I love listening to him, and all right, you screwed up. Who gives a shit? How are you gonna fix it? How are you gonna unfuck yourself? What are you gonna do? So, and the sooner you do that, the sooner you get back onto the positive track and get to a proactive status as opposed to a reactive status. Because once you're in reactive mode, it fucking blows, dude.
It does. It does. Blows. You're not thinking straight. Right.
Yeah, I spent the last 2 weeks in reactive mode, so we're just not getting back to proactive mode. And that a lot had to do with me getting clogged up with my father-in-law not doing well. Now he's doing great, so he's going to be driving and playing golf soon. So, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, anybody that has not had an All Saints, this is where I am on the dedication, and it is still cool, and I am able to nub this thing, and I will tell you right now, this is the most disappointing part of smoking an All Saints cigar, when you have to let it go and die with dignity in the ashtray. But you could well, they're great cigars, man. And you could fortunately always find these cigars on smokin.com if you're looking for a great online retailer. Abe DeBabna is a big supporter of the show. Show him some love. Jump over to smokin.com. Big shout outs to BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, Christoph Cigars, New Air humidors, the best humidors in the industry, as well as Sagrado Cigars, McAuliffe Cigars, And tonight we were drinking on the Axe and Oak Dream Stream. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get one of these to Mickey because I think this would change his opinion on gin like it did mine. A barrel-aged gin, which went absolutely fantastic with this cigar. So as I am so disappointed to let this cigar die with dignity because it is at the end of its life, I have to sadly say this is the end of the show as well. Thank you so much for coming on, Mickey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I truly appreciate you as a friend and giving me the connection.
And my first podcast from Nicaragua. So
yeah, well, there you go. We've got so much great things to see out of All Saints next year and the next several years as you're planning and you talked about.
Put pressure on me, Ryan.
Well, you know, I have had your cigars. I've had your entire line of cigars, and you have established yourself as, in my opinion, a formidable partner to any brand that is currently on the market. And I love to see your success and the legendary status that you will build with All Saints. So it's a cigar you can smoke probably in church and nobody would get upset with you. So not sure.
I did try tonight. I actually went to mass before the show for the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, and I thought about taking a picture in mass. I had a cigar in my pocket just to take a picture, you know, background. And I had this sweet little lady sitting next to me, and she kind of gave me that look like, put it back in your pocket. So, and the whole mass was in Spanish too. So I kind of knew what to do at certain things and then try to say it in my mind. And, you know, so it was pretty funny. I did think about it today.
Well, if you guys have never had an All Saints and you're watching the show, what the hell are you waiting for? Again, I am right here on the cigar with no issues, cool, not spongy, still drawing. And this is the saddest part that you will ever experience when you smoke an All Saints until you light up another one, and then you will be happy again. So thank you so much for gracing the show on the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. You always have a home here. Stick around till we get off. But I bid everybody thank you for watching the show. And until Mickey and I see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Ciao bello. Pax.